invocation by Reverend Vernon Curry of the Highland Drive Church of Christ.
Shall we pray? Our God and our Father in heaven, we ask your blessings upon this gathering tonight. We pray that you'll give each one here wisdom and strength that we may do the things that are best, not only for ourselves, but for the community. Thank you for the beautiful day you've given us, and we pray that we will always use our life to glorify you. Be with the council tonight as they must make decisions that will not only affect this generation, but also the generations to come. Bless each of us. Thank you for sending your son that he would die for our sins. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Thank you. Roll call, Ms. Kirby.
Councilman Branham.
Here.
Councilman Smith.
Here.
Councilwoman Abshir.
Here.
Councilman Matthews.
Here.
Councilwoman Pearson. Mayor Pro Tem McVeigh. Here. And Mayor DeGarris.
Here.
6 present.
Thank you. Disclosure of interest. Any member of the City Council may disclose any possible conflict of interest dealing with either any item on the printed agenda or with any matter discussed at a previous meeting. Seeing none, I'd like to apologize for everyone for having to cancel the meeting last night due to lack of a quorum, but I'm glad that everybody was able to reschedule and come here tonight to give us their views. This time we have the citizens' input. Each person in the audience may take this opportunity to address the City Council on any matter which is not on the printed agenda.
That's on the agenda.
I didn't see it. About where
Workshop A. It's what now?
Thank you.
Yeah. First item.
It comes after the business and retail leaders on the workshop item.
You'll get a chance to talk.
Okay. Okay, now the consent agenda. Does any member of the council wish to discuss any items separately? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved. Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item will be workshop items. Item A, the City Council will hear from the business and retail leaders relative to business rights advocacy. Sir, if you just give us your name and address, please.
My name is Eddie Justice. I live outside the city limits, but I do business at 204 Ferguson in the Dilly's Pharmacy Building, which is inside the city limits of Poplar Bluff. I've been in business since 1999, and I am the owner of Eddie Justice State Farm Insurance Agency. First of all, I want to thank the city of Poplar Bluff for doing such a great job over the years of protecting the rights of the business owners as we make decisions on how to operate our businesses. The spirit of the entrepreneur is at the very foundation of the success Poplar Bluff has had over the years and is currently seeing as we move forward with economic development all around our city. When I opened my business in 1999, and as is usual for the startup of a business, there was a need for capital investment. Since I'm a sole proprietor, it is obvious the money used for that capital investment came from me and me alone. Since that startup date in 1999, and as is usually the case in the creating and maintaining of a business, there has been many risks taken and many decisions made, both big and small. Many of those decisions were made with the knowledge that the responsibility of the success or failure of my business rode solely on my decision, and if I made the wrong decision, no one would be there to bail me out or give me a mulligan. Since the investment in my business and the responsibility of the risk taken in my business are mine and mine alone, and since the city has shown neither the desire, the resources, or the right to invest in, bail out, or involve itself in the daily decision-making and running of my business, I am requesting the City of Poplar Bluff continue its stellar track record of supporting and encouraging those willing to open businesses and support our local economy by allowing us to do so in an unencumbered and efficient manner. Our society has been based on the idea of the free market economy since its inception. Overregulation and impediments on business by governmental bodies only serves to slow our economy and send jobs to other areas. Once again, I am thankful to the City of Poplar Bluff for having a track record of making decisions that ensure local businesses are free to succeed based on their own merit, and I am requesting that every effort of this City Council be focused on continuing that effort. If no questions. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Any other members of that business rights advocacy like to speak?
Good evening. I'm Cindy Bertram, and I also live outside the city limits, but I have a business in Poplar Bluff, Health Partners Management, since the year 2000. Like Eddie, it is important for business owners to decide how they want to conduct their business. However, I do not have any issue with people who like to smoke. It is their business, it is their right. As a business owner, however, it is my responsibility to look out for my employees' health. I do believe employees deserve to work in an environment that is healthy. A very easy way to accomplish one facet of that is by providing a smoke-free facility. I understand some businesses are concerned about eliminating smoking in fear that their business may suffer. I've been given permission by 2 business owners this evening to speak on their behalf. Hayden's Drive-In, they implemented a no smoking policy 6 months ago, and it has improved their business. Costello's Restaurant had smoking in their bar area for several years. 4 months ago, they went smoke-free. Their business has also improved. In closing, due to the fact that smoking affects the environment, it is infringing on non-smokers' rights, as they do not have the right to breathe clean air. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Lisa Dilday. My husband and I pastor a church here on South Poplar Bluff. I want to thank you for allowing me to speak here on behalf of Breathe Easy Poplar Bluff. As we pastor here in the Bluff, we deal daily with people who are recovering from addictions. I was diagnosed with asthma as a child. My parents owned a restaurant, and my very first job was waiting tables in a local restaurant. Because of the secondhand smoke that I was subjected to throughout that period of my life, I suffered many various health issues related to my asthma. As many young people in this community work in restaurants and places who are subjected to the secondhand smoke that can't be avoided as part of their jobs, we ask that you consider the testimony of those that we are going to bring forth tonight. It wasn't until I married several years later that my health greatly improved, and I now have 3 grandchildren who have similar diagnosis and live here in the community. I am here tonight to defend the right to visit public places in Poplar Bluff without being subjected to secondhand smoke. We want to be respectful of your time, and therefore we have selected just a few speakers to address you tonight. I'd like to ask Mr. Rick McGath to speak at this time.
I'm Rick McGath. I'm a physician at 2588 Northwestwood Boulevard, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk. First of all, I'd like to say that I have utmost respect for Mr. Justice and all the business members of the community that provide jobs and also the services for the citizens of Poplar Bluff. I think that this clearly will be a hardship and an inconvenience for a number of the businesses in this community. However, you know, there are many hardships that we've undertaken to have clean air in our environment, to breathe clean air in the city of St. Louis and Poplar Bluff. It's an inconvenience for the car companies to put catalytic converters on the cars and develop cars that are efficient and with low pollution. It's an inconvenience for the power companies to put multi-million-dollar scrubbers on their towers so that coal can be burned and we still have clean air to breathe. It's unfortunate that we have to be inconvenienced, but in order to have a good life and a healthy life, that's necessary in any country, including ours. We've lost a lot of freedoms, and I'm aware of that. But sometimes the tragedy is that we have to lose freedoms in order to gain longer lives and longer longevity. There is no one in this room that should say that we should eliminate the law against drunk driving because we don't want to infringe on the rights of an alcoholic. I don't think there's a businessman here that would say that. And this is a similar thing. We can't take care of the people of Poplar Bluff, provide safe indoor air without somebody making a sacrifice. It's unfortunate but true. The City Council, as the leaders of Poplar Bluff, have a rare opportunity to impact the health and welfare of all the citizens of Poplar Bluff. You have an opportunity to reduce asthma, to reduce heart disease, and to reduce lung cancer, which is a death sentence for almost all patients who get it. I would encourage you to take this opportunity to provide a clean indoor environment for the people of Poplar Bluff by moving forward with this ordinance. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you. My name is Jerry McClure. I'm the part owner of Jim and Jerry's, 336 Vine. My proposal to the council is a permit, which I have pictures I'd like to show y'all. Pass them around. It'd be a permit to anyone by this permit to have a smoking establishment.
They're all the same, so take one and pass it.
You would pay it just like you would pay it to the merchant license. You paid each year, it'd be revenue for the city,
They're all the same.
and I'd like to propose that to you and look at that, and this way, anybody would know, it'd be on your front door. You don't have to even walk in the business. You look at that picture, you don't even have to come in there. This is a smoking establishment. I pay this once a year, and I'd like to propose that to everybody, and because I have a business there, I've been there 10 years. I'm a local businessman, and graduated high school here, got drafted here. I have freedom of choice. We have a wall in front of the Coliseum that gives us freedom of choice. This gives us an option. It's a yes or no, but this gives us an in-between, the ones that want smoking, the ones that don't want smoking. I'm not a big coalition, I'm just an independent businessman. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening. I'm Tom Newman. I have Newman Amusement Incorporated down on 1035 South Broadway. We've been in business here since 1975. We supply equipment, amusement machines, jukeboxes, pool tables, dart machines for all the bars here in town and in about a 70-mile radius. We do this, and I'd like to make a statement, please. It is legal to purchase and consume alcoholic beverages if you are over 21, and to purchase and use cigarette and tobacco products if you are over 18. There are laws in place that prohibit the use of tobacco in or on the grounds of schools, hospitals, and many public buildings. These are places that the public may be required to go, or it may be necessary to be there. However, particularly for restaurants and bars, it should be the owner's choice whether to allow or prohibit smoking in their business. Private citizens may then vote with their dollars and make a personal decision as to whether they want to do business with a place that allows smoking or prohibits smoking. If the City of Poplar Bluff passes an ordinance to ban smoking in such businesses that are in the city limits, then customers who want to smoke will take their business elsewhere. and they'll take them to locations that are outside the city limits or to other counties. In other cities in our states that have tried this, it has had a significant impact on the closure of many businesses that have been affected. Springfield, Missouri lost 10 businesses within the first 90 days. Columbia lost 16 in the first 3 months. O'Fallon lost 9 in the first month. And that list goes on and on and on. I know everybody likes statistics. I'll make one other little quick statement. I know I've given all of you packets that has this in there. But the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics shows 0 deaths from secondhand smoke from the dates of 2008 to 2011. And for this reason, I wish you would leave the decision up to the local business owners and do not pass a non-smoking ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manager.
I'm Thomas Slager. I live outside the city limits of Poplar Bluff. My wife and I own Myrtle's at 109 North Broadway. We've probably been in business about 18 years. As we've all found tonight, it's not a perfect world because there's already different opinions. I respect everybody's opinion. But in our business, we have a no smoking area, and we also have smoking. It's worked pretty well for 18 years. You're not going to please everybody. I really believe that should be left up to the business on how they want to run their business. I know several yuns in business, and it would be like somebody dictating to yuns how yuns should operate. If you're responsible for what you're doing, like Eddie said, you're responsible for your business and mistakes and everything you do. So, like I said, I think it would be up to the business owner, if it's necessary, like Jerry said, to put a sticker on your door. That would be up to the choice of the client to come in. If they want to come in, they don't have to. But we try to cater to everybody of different walks of life. And I would appreciate your consideration of leaving things like they are. The economy is not good, and it's rougher every day in business, as you all well know. And like I said, I would appreciate you give it thought to maybe take a little time, but leave it like it is. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank you, sir. I think the Breathe Right people had a couple more. There's someone coming up.
Should we pass this around the audience?
Sure.
Yeah, pass it around the audience, and there's some extras going.
My name is Tammy Hildebrand. I've been invited here this evening to offer my opinions on the smoke-free indoor air workplace and public places ordinance. I see this ordinance from two perspectives, as a business owner and as a person who suffers from allergies and asthma. Because I see this issue from two different perspectives, I've wrestled with how I feel about it for some time. Like most small business owners, I never like any sort of government infringement on the running of my business. I own a jewelry company. We formerly operated our jewelry store as a typical brick and mortar store here in Poplar Bluff, but because we specialize in the design and making of custom jewelry, we have moved our business to the internet. Regardless, I know how small business owners feel about being told how to conduct their business, and I am very sympathetic to that view. But I am also looking at this issue from the perspective of someone who suffers from allergies and asthma, and as a mother. I have never smoked, but my dad smoked all the years I was growing up. At that time, no one thought much about secondhand smoke. Dad knew he should stop smoking for the sake of his own health, and he struggled with stopping for years. But I doubt that he ever thought about his smoking having a harmful effect on anyone else, especially his children. But it did. I didn't really even understand how much secondhand smoke affected me until I moved out of my parents' house at age 19. I'd grown up always congested, always battling bronchitis, but I really didn't know why. Now I know that Dad's smoking did affect me. I found out years later that I have a severe allergy to tobacco smoke. No wonder I was always sick as a kid. That allergy basically turned into asthma. I do fairly well with my asthma, but I found that tobacco smoke is a major trigger for it. No one in my family smokes, and as long as I'm in my own home, it's no problem. But I love to socialize. I love to go out and listen to music. I found that it's difficult for me to do that. I have to make an active choice as to whether or not it's worth it to go to an establishment where there will be tobacco smoke. because I know just one night of exposure will likely make me sick for about the next week, so I rarely go out. This is important for one reason, and that reason is I am not the only person who has this problem. There are thousands of people in this area who have the same problem. They suffer from breathing difficulties that are made worse by tobacco smoke. They constantly have to make decisions balancing their health with opportunities to be with friends and family and entertainment venues. And those numbers will be growing with an aging population. More and more of us will develop breathing difficulties as we age. This is important because it has a definite economic impact. Not only do breathing difficulties aggravated by smoking and secondhand smoke drive up healthcare costs, but it also has an economic impact on the very businesses that will likely argue against such an ordinance. They will understandably argue that a no-smoking policy will affect their businesses. They will worry that people will not want to go out to bars and other entertainment types of venues where smoking is not allowed. And it is true. Some of their customers may not be happy with the change. But we have to look at not just our current customers, but the customers of the future. There is no doubt which way society is moving in terms of its views on smoking. It's becoming more and more restricted because it is now understood how damaging smoking and secondhand smoke can be to health and to the healthcare system. The costs are becoming too high to keep condoning it. It's just a matter of time before these restrictions on smoking are made by the state and federal governments to protect public health. The writing is on the wall. It's going to happen. This is one of those cases that remind me a little bit of that phone service commercial where the adult is talking to the kids about the turtles, and he asks, which would you rather be, a fast turtle or a slow turtle? The kids decide the slow turtle is bound for trouble. Splat. It's kind of that way with social change. Social change sometimes comes towards us like speeding cars. They're not going to stop. We just have to decide whether to be a fast turtle or a slow turtle in the movement of social change. And my number one reason for being in favor of this ordinance is because I am a mother. My dad had no idea he was harming my health with secondhand smoke. I know better. We're not just talking about us, we're talking about our children. Many of you have children who are maybe in just elementary or middle school. It seems like a long time before they will be entering the adult world and doing adult things like going to bars or maybe just getting together with friends to hear a band that they like. Do you want your children to go to a place with healthy air to breathe or unhealthy air? We know secondhand smoke is damaging to the health of people who don't even smoke. My dad didn't know that. We do. And we have a responsibility to do something about it. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Mayor.
Hello there. My name is Ryan Heiser. I live at 2307 Earl Street here in Poplar Bluff, and work at overhead door company just out of the city limits, so I guess that doesn't quite pertain. But I'm here today to speak up about obviously property rights. We've gone over that quite significantly tonight, so I'll kind of just reiterate that to me this is definitely an issue about property rights, business owners' rights. Nobody has a reasonable expectation for a particular commodity in my home, on my property, so I don't see why they would have that expectation on someone else's private property that they happen to make money off of for having a business on it. But a few points I'd like to bring up that have been brought up today by others. For example, employee health. One of the arguments in support of this legislation, this ban, would be to protect the health of employees. Like I mentioned, I work on overhead doors. I work on garage doors for a living. Largely that occurs inside of people's homes, inside of people's private residences. I really fail to see how this legislation would protect my health as an employee at all when it comes to secondhand smoke. If if the homeowner wishes to have a cigarette or a cigar or smoke a pipe in their garage while I'm servicing it, I'm going to be exposed to it. However, I do have the freedom of choice of whether or not to pursue a job where I am subjected to such things. If it is something which means that much to me, I can by all means pursue other employment. So that's one hole in it, that the legislation simply will not protect the health of everyone. I'm not alone in working inside of people's homes. I know that many service employees, people who work on air conditioning units or clean carpets, or even in-home health care, people who deliver oxygen, the list goes on and on. So, if it is in fact to protect employee health, I think it falls far short of protecting employees equally. Also, there was mention of a handful of businesses which have voluntarily provided a smoke-free establishment, which brings up the interesting, I guess, question of why, if it's legal to ban smoking on your property now, why legislation would be necessary if business owners are presently free to do so. I'd like to challenge anyone who who would wish to see a smoke-free Poplar Bluff to appeal to business owners to voluntarily comply with a smoke-free establishment. I don't smoke cigarettes. I did for years, and I realized that it was detrimental to my health, so I quit. I had the freedom to do so. Even when I did smoke cigarettes, I would prefer to eat in a restaurant that was smoke-free, but that's my choice. I often do eat at restaurants that allow smoking, but basically my challenge is for anyone who believes that that Poplar Bluff should be smoke-free to pursue a voluntary method of doing so, to where people aren't forced to do anything. By all means, I agree with it. I think it's a great idea, but I don't think that just because I think it's a good idea, I should force anyone else to comply with it. But yes, there seem to be quite a few people who would like a smoke-free Poplar Bluff, a smoke-free dining establishment or drinking establishment. So it seems like there'd be a pretty good market for it. If anyone wants to open a smoke-free business, you have the right to do so. So I'd encourage you to do so. Another big issue I have with this is the fact that this could, once you allow someone to dictate what lawful activity you can or cannot allow on your business property, you're half a step away from allowing someone to dictate what lawful activity you can allow on your private residence, on your private property. And one quick thing before I step down, I noticed recently in a Post-Dispatch article, there's a new study by the CDC, the Center for Disease Control. It was basically an econ, I can pass this around to you guys as soon as I'm done so you can each have a look at it. An econ study, let's see, the article was titled "Statewide Smoking Ban, Is It Bad for Business?" It's from August 8th. And it reported that a new nationwide study committed by the CDC and funded by the pharmaceutical company Pfizer had found that smoking bans do not hurt the bottom line of bars and restaurants. Let's see, it goes on to say the CDC director, Thomas Frieden, laid down as an established truth that smoke-free policies, quote, don't hurt business, end quote, and promised to use this yet-to-be conducted study to counter the perception that smoking bans might negatively affect restaurants and bar businesses. At the time, Dr. Michael Siegel of Boston University School of Public Health raised an interesting question, which is how objective could the research process have been if the agency conducting the study had already drawn a conclusion beforehand? Also, I'd like to mention that the study was funded by Pfizer, who conveniently makes a product called Chantix, which is used for smoking cessation. So I just thought that that should be mentioned as well, and that concludes my testimony today. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
If you guys would like to see that.
All right, thank you. We'll give it to the clerk. She can have it for a record.
Hello, I'm just a wife, mom, work outside the home.
Could you give us your name and address, please?
Oh, Deborah Peck, sorry. Deborah Peck, 511 South C, Poplar Bluff, Missouri. Like I said, I'm just a wife and a mom, work outside the home, have all my life. I've smoked for almost 40 years. I am a smoker. To me, it's just not about the smoking rights, it's about the owner's right to choose what they want to do. My 12-year-old today asked, where are we going? And I told her, oh, they're going to talk about taking smoking out of the restaurants. She said, well, are they trying to make this a communist state? That's scary. That a 12-year-old realizes that's where we're headed. And where does it start? With little things like smoking. I have smoked for 40 years. I'm sure it has affected my health. I'm not overweight, though. How many people are overweight? That's just as bad for their health. I have 4 children, ages of 30, 27, 21, and 12. None of them has asthma or bronchitis or any side effect from my smoking. So I just wanted to come up and say, you know, my main point was my 12-year-old saying, well, are we trying to make this a communist state? Thank y'all.
Thank you, ma'am.
I have a 2-year-old daughter that was born.
We need your name and address, please.
Mary Lockett, and I live at 1703 Illinois. My daughter was born with something called meconium ileus, and she has cystic fibrosis. She has sticky mucus in her lungs. I have to put a vest on her lungs every day, twice a day for half an hour. She has breathing treatments. She has all kinds of different treatments I have to do for her. Her doctors tell me, please do not allow her around cigarette smoke. It could be detrimental to her health. It could put her in the hospital because she can't breathe like a normal person. She has that sticky mucus in her lung. And I feel like there's certain restaurants, Steak and Shake has free kids night on weekends. We do not go to Steak and Shake because they smoke in Steak and Shake.
They're smoke-free. They're smoke-free. They're
What?
totally smoke-free.
Oh, really?
They even removed all the booths and redid everything. They're
Oh,
totally
okay. I
smoke-free.
didn't know. That's how long it's been since I've even tried to go there.
No, they're smoke-free, and they
Okay,
took
well,
out all
that's good to know.
the old
There's
equipment.
there's also grocery stores that I cannot go shopping in because they allow smoking in the grocery stores. When I pull up into a driveway, if I see somebody smoking at the door, I would just pull out and go somewhere else. I avoid smoke at all costs for my daughter's health because it could be detrimental to her. And I have a 5-year-old son. I don't want people to smoke around him because I don't want him to grow up and thinking that smoking is cool, that smoking is the cool thing to do. I don't want to put my children in harm's way. I don't want them to be around cigarette smoke at all costs.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Nicole Burden, and I live 157 Bryan Avenue, Poplar Bluff. The beginning of this year was supposed to be the best days of my life, but it turned out to be a mother's worst nightmare. I gave birth to a full-term little boy named Carson. He was perfect in every way, but the doctors knew right away that something wasn't right. His breathing was labored, and his coloring was gray. Poplar Bluff immediately shipped him to St. Francis because they didn't have the resources to keep him alive. When we arrived in Cape, the doctors met us at the door and prepared us that he was a very, very sick baby. To being the worst, he was a 10.5 out of a 1 to 10 scale. They did all they could, but they did not know what was going on with him. Walking in and seeing him on the oscillator, the 4 blood pressure medicines, the morphine, the sedatives, all I knew what to do as a mom was to pray. A couple days later, his blood cultures came back positive for GBS. GBS is called Group B strep. It's a form of pneumonia. And GBS is a terrible, terrible illness that attacks your lungs, your heart, your liver, and any organ in your body. 40% of women carry this, and they are tested at 37 weeks. And if you're positive, you automatically get put on antibiotics. Well, I had a false negative and was told that I was negative for GBS, but I was not. And apparently that happens a lot. So soon after they knew this, they had to ship him to St. Louis Children's to be put on the ECMO machine. It is a heart and lung bypass machine that it's pretty much life support. This will hopefully give his lungs time to heal, they say. Children's told us he was probably the sickest kid in the hospital, and there's a high chance his lungs will never get better and simply get worse, to where there's nothing left they can do. But they didn't know Carson. He was a little fighter. 2 weeks later, he came off the ECMO machine. 2 months later, he got to go home on a little bit of oxygen and a feeding tube. Currently, he has no oxygen, no feeding tube, or anything. He is the perfectly eating, drinking, hearing, seeing, happy 7-month baby. But because of his lung disease, he will always have to be careful. He isn't allowed to be around smokers or smoke, or he will start breathing heavy and have to be put back on oxygen, or he will be hospitalized. Therefore, as a family, we can't go out to eat, hardly anywhere in Poplar Bluff, that allows smoking, because sadly, even if there is a smoking and non-smoking area, you can still smell the smoke, and you can still inhale the smoke. Most places that only think separating smoking and non-smoking areas is a booth or a small divisor, and that is not enough when you have a sick kid that can't inhale smoke. Therefore, if my family goes to eat for special occasions, like birthdays or get-togethers, or just want to go out and have fun, we can't go. We either stay at home with Carson, or we have someone come out of our family to come watch him so we can go out, which means we're never together as a family. I hate that Carson already has to miss out on events and birthdays, or spending time with his family, or even his big brother that worships him because of something he can't control. And it just doesn't seem fair, because yes, people have the choice, but what about the Carson who didn't have a choice to be sick, and he can't do a lot of things that his big brother can because of his illness? So, thank you, that's all.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hi, my name's Tim Heiser. I live at 644 Maple Ridge Trail, and I manage a business at 1006 West Pine here in Poplar Bluff. You know, I have never smoked in my life. My parents never smoked. I suffer from allergies. I hate cigarettes. I wish they didn't exist. I wish nobody smoked. But cigarette smoke doesn't affect me. Women's perfume affect me. There's something in cologne that I'm severely allergic to. If we're going to take this path further, why not protect me from the cologne? I can't run or walk at the track at the junior high if there's ladies out there walking, because if I get to exerting myself and I breathe their cologne, I'll go down on my knees on a coughing fit. Where do we draw the line? We don't allow smoking in my business. I don't patronize restaurants that do not have a non-smoking area. I will go to Myrtle's because they do have a non-smoking area. I won't sit in the bar at Colton's or at Applebee's because I'm too close to the smokers. But that's my choice. I have that choice. Every business owner should have that choice. It's not government's place to protect people from themselves. People can vote with their pocketbook on these businesses that allow smoking. I mean, it's no more clear than that. Most of the restaurants in Poplar Bluff are non-smoking restaurants. The ones that have smoking everywhere are the minority. You don't have to use them, don't have to patronize them, don't have to patronize any place that allows the smoking. That is my choice. I talk with my dollars. But it should be my choice. It's not the business owner's, I mean, it should not be dictated upon that business owner how he operates his business, who he lets in, who he doesn't let in. And business owned restaurant owners, they have that choice. It's no more simple than that. We don't need to protect everyone from themselves. They can do that themselves, or their family can do that for them, whatever it might take. That's all.
Thanks, sir.
evening. I'm Dorothy Munch. I'm a family practitioner. My address is 2024 County Road 525, Williamsville, Missouri. But actually, I live in South Wilby, which is very close to here. Many of you know. I have a small business. I hate having my back to everyone, but I guess this is the way we do it. I apologize. First, I'd like to say this is my first meeting, and I am really impressed by the gentility of the conversation, the thoughtful discourse that has gone on here tonight. And I really, many of my dear friends, Debbie, have been up at the podium, still working on you, girl. So I guess my point is, do I have a bias? Well, it's obvious. I'm a physician. I have the same bias that Rick has. We've seen far too many ill effects of tobacco. Some of it firsthand. My mother smoked 2 packs a day, so I watched her health and I saw what happened to her. And so, yes, I'm biased. I happen to be a small business owner. I own a business, and I am in one of the most regulated businesses in this country called healthcare. Every day I advocate for patients' rights. I argue as to why my patient needs an MRI, why my patient needs this drug. And so I'm absolutely biased, and my bias is health. And I'll be forthright about that. I'm also a huge supporter of individual rights. And being a business owner in the most overregulated industry called healthcare, it troubles me that I have to deal with a lot of things that other small business owners deal with. Now, I understand my business is not that of a restaurant. We all have different struggles. But I do understand what it's like to be told what to do, when to do it, and I have actually struggled with this issue. But I feel, as far as secondhand smoke, what I tell my patients who smoke and who have children, because one of my great concerns with tobacco is children and the role models that we are providing to them and what they see. And there have been a lot of health ratings. There are all kinds of statistics. And unfortunately, the boot heel, and we are not officially in the boot heel, but we border the boot heel. This part of Missouri, we have incredibly poor health ratings, which troubles me, and I think probably troubles everybody in the room, and that comes from a lot of factors. But in regard to the smoking issue, absolutely, I'm a huge believer in rights. But in regard to secondhand smoking, as I was started to say, what I tell my parents, because often I hear, I've got end-stage COPDers, people on oxygen, and they'll come in and they smell of smoke, and I know they don't smoke. And they said, and they tell me, well, no, I don't smoke, but my husband smokes, but he only smokes in the upstairs attic or something. Well, your ventilation system moves that around. I mean, it's just like you cook an apple pie in the kitchen. Pretty soon you smell an apple pie upstairs. So I think we all know common sense that, secondhand smoke and ventilation systems and having this part of the restaurant non-smoking, this part of the restaurant smoking. And by the way, Myrtle's is one of my favorite restaurants. So once again, I feel like I'm among friends, and I know we have to agree to disagree and be gentlemen, ladies about it. But once again, my bias is health. I care about the health of this county. I care about the health of my patients. And when I struggle with a decision or an opinion, I just go back to do the right thing. And I think it is the right thing to do. It is a difficult thing to do. I think it's the right thing to do. And I'll just end with that. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Lisa Adamson, and I live in the county, but I do work here in the city at a local bank. I wanted to say, you'd think in an environment like this, you'd almost feel hate, but I don't. I too feel like that everybody has, been very professional, and it's so organized, and there's been lots of good things said on both sides that actually I've agreed with. But I want to thank you all for the opportunity to voice my opinion, and I've got great respect for the authority that each of you uphold. The Breathe Easy Coalition is something that I believe in, and after a recent scare this year where the doctors thought I might have lung cancer, I have an even greater desire to stand up for this cause. After many months of tests and seeing 3 different doctors and traveling many, many miles, They now feel that the mess is most likely a severe lung infection, but for the rest of my life, I'm going to have to guard what I'm around and make sure that the air I breathe is as clean as possible. The last vision I have of my husband's brother and mother is overwhelming. Shorty died from lung cancer and my mother-in-law from a combination of lung and brain cancer. Shorty got down to 80 pounds and he was nothing but skin and bones when he passed away at 55. My mother-in-law worked in a restaurant most of her life and she passed away at 64. Yes, both of these individuals smoked part of their life, but both of them also worked in and around businesses that allowed smoking. I'm just going to read a few of paragraphs here and something that I had written that was in the local paper. Secondhand smoke in public places is a danger to everyone's health. That's the simple truth, and that is why I'm behind the smoke-free ordinance for the city of Poplar Bluff. Everyone, both customers and employees, have the right to dine and work in a safe and healthy environment. Smoke-free ordinances simply ask smokers to step out for the health of everyone. 5 minutes outside isn't long to ask to keep the toxic smoke out of other people's lungs. Not only is it a smart health choice, it's a smart business choice as well. Smells don't sell. Smoke odor not only offends people who are walking into a restaurant, but it also can offend a potential real estate buyer. Properties that smell of smoke are at a distinct disadvantage. They can take longer to sell and may even sell at a lower price. Business owners purchase ventilation systems thinking that they remove the smoke, when in reality, tobacco smoke travels to all areas of a building. It can seep through cabinets, through closets, under doors, and across into the non-smoking area. We've all experienced that. And lastly, a lot of times insurance rates. Many companies will discount liability premiums if no smoking rule is established. The U.S. Surgeon General, numerous health organizations, and doctors have confirmed that secondhand smoke causes cancer, heart disease, and serious lung problems. Quote, "The scientific evidence is now undisputable. Secondhand smoke is not a mere annoyance. It's a serious health hazard that can lead to disease and premature death in children and non-smoking adults. There is no safe level of exposure." That was a quote by the U.S. Surgeon General. Too often when smoke-free policies are discussed, it becomes an emotional battle of smoking versus the smoke-free. But I've explored and found that many people who smoke understand, and they actually don't mind the 5 minutes to step outside to keep toxic smoke out of the lungs of their family and friends. There are those who oppose the smoke-free ordinance for economic reasons. However, the facts show that hundreds of cities across the country have not been put at a financial disadvantage by enacting this policy. I'm a proud citizen of Poplar Bluff, and I want to support its beauty and unpolluted air. It's time to move our community forward and protect everyone's right to breathe smoke-free indoor air. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hello. My name's Aaron Darnell. I live at 1423 West Vine Street, right up the street from the mayor. I have a couple things I'd like to talk about. I have been with the coalition, Breathe Easy Coalition, for about 3 years, heavily this year. Our goal is to protect residents, patrons, and workers from exposure to secondhand smoke inside public places, including bars, restaurants, and clubs. The ordinance we have proposed is strong, simple, fair, and the most effective way to improve the health of our community. It places all workplaces, including bars, restaurants, and clubs, on a level playing field. This means that everyone's working from the same place, that there's not, that's the issue with, oh, why can't we just ask them to go do this on their own, because not everyone will. And then there are still employees that are stuck working in those places. And especially with, we're losing a factory, that's 500 jobs. Where are those people going to go? They've got to work somewhere. You've got to pay your bills. You've got to pay lights. You've got to feed your children. You've got to pay your health insurance. Things come up. You have to pay your bills. You have to work somewhere. And you don't always get to choose your health. You don't get to choose your health over a paycheck. You have to choose your paycheck because you have to pay. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to help people not have to choose between their health and a paycheck. Too often in the smoke-free policy debate, it becomes a heated battle of smoking versus non-smoking, when in reality it's about public health, protecting citizens from a known hazard. This is 2013. Everybody in this room knows that smoking's bad for you and that secondhand smoke is bad. And no one here has argued against that. No one for this or against this ordinance has argued against this. We all know that smoking is bad and that secondhand smoke is bad. Unlike many other personal behaviors, this one impacts more than the person making the choice. When people smoke in public places, they affect the health of everyone around them. There are now 24 cities in Missouri that have a 100% smoke-free bar and restaurant law, and many other cities working to pass or strengthen existing laws. If you look at a map of the state of Missouri, and when you put a little dot where all these 24 cities are, you'll see a nice little empty curve over southeast Missouri, which is coincidentally, if you also look at a map that shows the unhealthiest counties in Missouri, that's also the little curve of southeast Missouri. We are 109 out of 114 counties. We are at the bottom of the list, and we are consistently at the bottom of the list for unhealthiest counties. Lake St. Louis, Kirkwood, Clayton, Brentwood, I can't say this one, Creve-Coeur or something, Baldwin, there we go. Baldwin, Columbia, Fulton, Jefferson City, Kirksville, Chillicothe, Warrensburg, Independence, Lee's Summit. The most recent are Washington, Sedalia, and Excelsior Springs, which Washington was actually our partner on the Sudafed issue. They are our sister city. They are very comparable to us. And they actually, their council voted this in. This was not a public vote. This was not an issue. They voted this in Washington and Sedalia and Rolla. For those who travel near and far, this is the norm. Smokers stepping outside for the health of everyone. I actually read something today that spoke about people don't start smoking after the age of 25. Statistically speaking, people start between, I want to say it was like 16 to 19. This changes the norm. This changes, they talked about changing, not just today, but changing the future. This changes the norm. This affects not just Poplar Bluff today. This affects Poplar Bluff in 50 years or 100 years when we're gone. This literally, this changes Poplar Bluff. When we've been out in the community talking with people, there was an outpouring of support for this issue. We've heard several stories of how secondhand smoke impacts them, and many were grateful that their workplace could soon be a safe, smoke-free environment, and that includes smokers and non-smokers. I did want to bring up a CDC report, which actually you've all received in a packet at various times. You've probably gotten it 2 or 3 times from us. It is a study by the CDC about 11 cities in Missouri that went smoke-free. And I can't remember all the cities off the top of my head, but they included Lee's Summit, places like that, places relatively comparable to us. 8 of the 11 improved, taxable revenues improved after whatever the standard amount of time is. The other 3 showed no decrease, which means they stayed right where they were. They stayed consistent. So in Missouri, this has not affected us negatively. This has actually helped the majority of businesses. And actually, in a recent Springfield Business Journal article, they spoke with a lot of bar owners in the downtown Springfield area. There's actually one they featured. And he said, I was worried about this. I was against this when we first brought this up. But now that I'm on the other side of it, my business has picked up. I had a few people that left because they were angry, and then guess what? They came right back a couple weeks later because they still like being here. And regardless of whether they could smoke or not, this was still their place. What else? This, like I said, this is about our main focus is about employee health. This is about employee health. This is not about honestly, this protects patrons, this protects the public, but this is about employee health. Restaurants, business owners, property owners are already legislated. There are fire codes, there are health codes. That's already in place. It's already in place regarding smoking. For smoking sections, for ventilation systems, which, by the way, ventilation companies themselves, the major people that make these things, have to put a label out that says this does not completely filter out 100% of secondhand smoke. I mean, they say our own system does not work like people think it works. This does not completely filter this out. There are countless times when I've tried to be conscious of, okay, well, I know this is there, but I still want to go eat at this place, so I'm just going to go ask to sit in the farthest corner away, and I should be fine then. Ignoring the fact that you have to walk right past, in the majority of businesses in Poplar Bluff, you have to walk right past the smoking section or through the smoking section to get to the non-smoking section. Even sitting in the far corner, I still leave having inhaled all that and smelling like it, which smelling like it is not my concern. Breathing it in and ending up with lung cancer or heart disease, which has been prevalent in my family, I'm not a fan of that. So, tobacco actually claims more lives than alcohol, than suicide, murder, car accidents. It claims more lives than all of those. So this is a serious, Lisa said it great when she's called it a health hazard. This is a health hazard. This is not, we're taking away anyone's rights, we're trying to restrict anyone. I do not want to take away anyone's rights, but I do want to protect my friends and my family that have to work in these places. I have a friend that's a bartender right now, and that's how she's paying her way through college. And she's engaged, and she's young, and she's got so much life, and that's where she works. That's where she has to work to pay her way through college. This is what she has to work with. And we have the opportunity to make sure that she gets that great life that she's working towards. And that's not just her, it's for all of the service industry. So, do you have any questions for me? That was a lot of information, but.
Thank you, sir. Council have any comments or suggestions?
It's a lot of information out there on both sides. I need to take some time to look at it. It's overwhelming.
I agree with Councilman Smith that I have a stack of information. Took a long time to read all of it. There's some conflicting statements in it. Some folks believe one way and some believe another. This is an emotional issue for folks. Very much so. I understand the business owners and I understand the health concerns probably as well as anyone in this room. I used to help the AMVETs at bingo and I quit because I couldn't stand the smoke. It wasn't secondhand smoke, it was real smoke. And
that's pretty thick.
Hated to have to do that. But I started smoking when I was probably about 14. And any of you my age in this room would tell you that that's probably about the age boys started smoking. That was the passage right to adulthood, I guess is what it was. I went my freshman year of high school here. There's a whole bunch of freshmen smoked back in the early 50s. Late 40s. Graduated from Winona, and most all the kids smoked there. To me, the first time I met with Breeze Easy folks was at Three Rivers College about a year and a half ago. I listened to what they had to say and I said, how come we don't include Butler County in this? And to me, that's an issue that the lady spoke of communism, that her daughter had said, well, this is something the county and the city could vote on, and the majority would rule. Here we could have 4 people impose this or not impose it on people. I think a vote of the people is what needs to happen. And Mr. Mayor, that would be my suggestion, that we, if we need to work with the county or whoever to get it put on the ballot. The next election, I believe, is in November. We've waited a long time to to do this. We had to do it at a later date. And both sides can tell their story. And again, the emotions are going to be there. I purposely do not go to restaurants where they smoke. I have a health condition that tells me I don't need to go. And I want to live as long as I can, so I don't go. I know some folks that go that don't like to smoke, but that's a choice that's been pointed out to us that we have. Workers is another story. There's also, to me, that's the issue of, there's 42,000 people, I believe, according to the science, live in the county of Butler. Only 17,000 live in Poplar Bluff. So why would we not want something that will help people, let the people decide? And that would be my recommendation, Mr. Mayor, that we put this on the ballot where the people can make a choice.
Mr. Mayor, I agree with, I guess, all sides here. I grew up in a household with, my dad was a smoker, 3 packs a day, short Camels, and as a child I would even go buy them for him because that's what you did back in the 60s. In the 50s, doctors prescribed cigarettes because it was something that would relax you. That's, you know, before they knew of all the harms that went with it. But I am truly living in a cancer world right now. My husband's suffering from cancer, and I spent my entire day yesterday in a room full of people taking chemo. My husband's also taking chemo. But I cannot, as a single person, make a decision that will affect both these sides. I just don't think, like you said, 4 people of us 7 can say yes or no and change the outcome for 17,000. I agree. I don't think it's too big for us to make that decision. And I totally agree of the businesses all have the right, and there's many, many restaurants in this town that do not have. McDonald's doesn't smoke, Steak and Shake doesn't smoke, many, many restaurants. Go out and seek them out. You can still have a social life and not go up. But that's your choice. You can, but I can't even, like Tim Heiser said, perfumes is an allergen to me. You know, there's some customers that come into my office that I absolutely have a sneezing fit if they wear a certain perfume. You get in an elevator of a restaurant, you are never ever going to be able to protect yourself from everything. What about your barbecue? All the charcoal has carcinogens in it. Anyone in this town that eats barbecue or smoked meat is eating carcinogens. How are you going to get away from the farmers' fields? I mean, where does it stop? They burn their fields. They have to so they can till their ground so they can grow our food. Where does it stop? And I just don't feel like it's something that this council can make that huge decision. Everyone has an extremely valid point. And like I said, I'm living right in the middle of a cancer world right now. But I would rather see it go to the vote of all the people, not just 7 of us.
Yeah, I can understand that. I was diagnosed 3 years ago with multiple myeloma. I don't know how many of you know what multiple myeloma is. I did not when they diagnosed me at Mayo Clinic. I knew what multi meant. It means more than one. And melanoma, I know, meant cancer. So without the doctor telling me a lot more, I knew it was not something. There's no cure for it. They told me I could live a normal lifetime. And I said, well, what about running for city council again? They said, go ahead and run. Keep doing the things you're doing. And so I watched my health. As close as I'm on my 3rd year of chemotherapy. And I've talked to people that have, and know people have died from lung cancer from smoking. But for me to deny everyone in the city the privilege and the owners of businesses, I don't think is a fair thing to do. If the people want to speak, let the people speak. And that prevents us from being the communist state, or one of the things that prevents it.
Yes, sir, you have.
Yeah, my name is Donnelly Hall. Donnelly. I live 745 Calvin Street behind Gamma Laboratories up on the hill, which you know. I've had 4 bypasses. I spent 40 days in the hospital, and Dr. Stevenson wanted to know what all those scars was on my lungs. I'm 84. If you don't believe me, ask him. And I was around cigarette smoke where it just fogged down the Smiley Container, or Russell Stover owned it. I worked at the bakery 14 years in flour dust. I worked for Vandover Motor Company years ago, blowed all that asbestos brake dust out. I got pneumonia while I was in there. I spent 40 days in the hospital. I got a pacemaker, defibrillator, nitro patch that I wear. Take 5 pills a day, still take heart pills in the morning and at night before I go to bed. So he wanted to know, Dr. Stevenson did before he left, why I had all those scars on my lung. That's being around the cigarette smoke. It used to just fog at lunchtime or 30-minute break down there, and now I can't hardly stand to be around it. So I don't smoke. I can even smell it from across the street, the apartments out there, Greg West's apartments up there. I've lived up there about 65 years. So that's all I got to say. I just don't go where they got a lot of cigarette smoke.
Did you ever smoke?
Tried it years ago and didn't like it, so I don't smoke. So I've been around a lot of people that does, and I'll come home sometimes from being around it, and I can smell it on my clothes, and so, well, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, I guess a quick synopsis. I appreciate both parties for the professionalism which they presented this to us and given us advanced documentation for us to read and make a more educated decision on this. If I understood Mr. Matthews right, and I've talked with several of the council members about this, it's not something that I feel personally, and I've heard this from some of the others, that the city government should be telling somebody what to do in their business. But we don't want to see, we also are concerned about the health of everybody in town. And if I understood Mr. Matthews right, that this is something that's far bigger than the 4 of us, and Mayor Pro Tem McVeigh had said, is far bigger than what 4 people should be making the decision for the business owners, which we're proud to have here. We've got some great businesses. We've got a lot of great people, and we love all of them. We want to keep all of them around as long as we can. But this type of decision is, if I understood Mr. Matthews right, almost like a motion that we just basically table this and suggest that this group take this to the county for a referendum for a vote of the public. Is that correct, Mr. Matthews? You will have that motion. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you again very much.
You can't make everybody happy. It's an emotional issue. We can all tell sob stories. I mean, I sit in a room full of cancer patients all day yesterday. It's close, but I still don't think it's the right thing for us to do. They got an hour and 10 minutes.
Well, I left my phone in the truck. It was a good discussion.
That's right. They did it in a good. That's right.
You might pull it back together.
Well, I
think most of them leave.
That's exactly right.
Okay, we've got several other workshop items.
I do too. You may have to get their attention. Do your gavel, get everybody's attention. They think the meeting's over.
That's right.
If everyone's leaving, we still have several other items on the agenda we need to address. Okay. Okay, item B, the city council will review the bids received for the historical preservation for design guidelines and training workshop.
Next.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. As you stated, this is a item for historic preservation design guidelines and training workshop. I have the documents on it. We received bids recently from two firms, Terry Foley of Wilmington, North Carolina, and Rebecca Ward of Jackson, Missouri. Ms. Foley had previously done work for us, and Ms. Ward previously lived in the city of Poplar Bluff. The bids came in. We were allocated by the state and National Park Service an amount of $17,675, and the bids came back lower than that. The low bid was Terry Foley at $12,655, and that was my recommendation to the council based upon the amount of the bid and the quality of previous services provided by that consultant. The other bid was an attractive bid as well. It was $13,500. But being the other one was lower and we'd had work done recently by that person, that was my recommendation to the council.
Her work was satisfactory, right?
We've been very happy. She's done the North Main brick streets and the 21 structures, 17 of which contributed in North Main, 400 block. And so yes, we were very happy with work. She's actually come in and done some other presentations for us in the downtown, and then design guidelines for preservation. Land use, she did that for us last year, the land use and building conditions survey.
Is she from Missouri because she graduated from Cape?
She worked in the city of Cape Girardeau for some years, and not too long before she started bidding on the work with us, she moved to North Carolina, but she traveled, her family's from northern Arkansas. Okay. So she still works in this area, just not sometimes long distance. We do have about $5,020 above what our bid is, and we're going to utilize that money to print new design guidelines once the other ones are, once it's been gone through and created. There will be public hearings and meetings with the Historic Preservation Commission, and we would want to invite the council members at any time to come to any of those meetings. We won't have to put any more than $5,062 in our 40% match. The rest of it will be either state and federal money, or it will be in-kind services from myself and the planning secretary, nobody young. So we feel this is a good thing to do. It's going to work in with our downtown improvements that we've been working toward for some years. I think that we will have, and we're also going to be able to offer training at the state level or at the state quality at the local level for tax credits and preservation efforts. So I think that's going to be beneficial to our business owners and our property owners in our downtown. Any questions?
No, it sounds to me like a good deal all around.
We think it's just one more important step in what we're doing in the downtown, Mr. Matthews. So yes, I do believe it's the right thing to do with where we've been the last 2 or 3 years and where we expect to be, a few years in the future.
Right.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we move item B to the voting session to be held later tonight.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item C, the city council review a budget adjustment for the Poplar Bluff Municipal Airport.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, this is the item that we discussed in closed session last week, and this is just the budget adjustment to allow Mike to purchase that property at the extreme north end of the airport. It's coming out of general fund under contingencies, $3,205.71 going into the airport land acquisition fund. We normally do these in December, but we wanted to get this one going because he needs to, 28? Yes. Yeah, is the last date that he has to purchase that. So this is just a budget adjustment that allows that to happen.
Hopefully we can get the other 2 pieces of property.
He's talked about it.
Mike and I have talked about that. He's all in favor of it because it's something we'll need in the future.
Mike likes to spend money.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we move item C to the voting session be held later tonight.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item D, the city council review and assessment of additional municipal court costs. Said cost to be used for the sheriff's retirement fund surcharge.
Mr. Mayor, as council will recall, this particular item came up at the last council meeting, and at that time I advised the council that this was really in a state of flux. There have been several municipal attorneys in several cities who raised the issue about this, whether this is even valid to be for the Office of State Courts Administrator to impose, because this is not a law that was passed by the legislature, but was a directive from the Office of State Courts Administrator to impose this $3 surcharge on all fines collected by municipal courts, which will go to the sheriff's retirement fund surcharge. The argument being that sheriffs have nothing to do with municipal court, and most cities feel that this is an invalid imposition on municipal courts. I was hoping by now that there would be a little more, I guess the issue would be a little more clear and I could advise you accordingly. Unfortunately, it is not. I do know this. I spoke with Richard Sheets from the Missouri Municipal League. The Missouri Municipal League is putting together a lawsuit to challenge this particular surcharge. I don't know how long it's going to be before it's filed, and of course don't know how long it's going to be to go through the courts, and obviously don't know what the outcome will be. In thinking about this and in talking to Richard, seeing about what some other cities did, the sense I get from him is that the larger cities, St. Louis, Kansas City, those areas, a lot of those municipalities are just refusing to collect this. Several of the communities, though, in outstate, what's called outstate Missouri, which includes Poplar Bluff, they are going ahead and are deciding to go ahead and collect it. So after thinking about it, I came up with 3 scenarios for the council tonight, and I believe you have 3 options on this. Number 1 would be simply to refuse to collect the fee, wait for the outcome of the litigation. The potential problem I see there is that if this litigation turns out and it's upheld that this surcharge is valid, then the city would have to ostensibly repay that money to the sheriff's retirement fund, and the only way I guess we'd have to do that is through the general fund. The second option would be to go ahead and collect the fees directed by OSCA, remit the money to the sheriff's retirement fund, and just wait and see what the outcome is. And you know, if it's determined to be valid, then we have an ordinance and we've been collecting it. If it's determined not to be valid, then I don't know. It would appear to me that maybe the sheriff's retirement fund would have to refund that money, and I don't know how that would work. The third option that I came up with was to go ahead and collect the money, but not turn it in and just hold it in escrow until this litigation is determined. And that way, I think it would protect the city in the sense that we would have the money if it turns out that they say that it is valid, we have to collect it, then we have done so and then we can turn that in. If it's not, then we would have the funds that, although it might be a little bit of a clerical nightmare, we could refund those $3 surcharges to the various citizens. So I prepared alternate ordinances for your consideration tonight. One of them would be just a simple ordinance that says we're going to collect it, or direct the municipal courts clerks to collect it and remit it as instructed by OSCA, or the other one would be to collect it but hold it into escrow. So those 2 choices are, as far as ordinances, are presented to you, but I think you actually have 3.
I could see where that would be a nightmare to refund $3 increments. That would be on every ticket that went through the city court, correct?
Yes.
I could see that might be a nightmare for the clerical end of that with the staff that they have.
Potentially, yes.
Yes, because litigation can be ongoing for 6 months to 18 months. Would that be out of the question?
No, not at all.
Mr. Mayor, I think these are 3 very good choices for us to make, but if it is already in a law that we should be doing, it's a pass-through. It doesn't actually cost our city anything. Yeah, we possibly should go ahead and collect it. I would be more apt to send it on to the sheriff's fund and let the burden be on them to refund it if it gets kicked out, instead of us having to try to do that. I think we should just follow through. It's not costing us anything, and if we put it in escrow and then they reverse it and we have to pay it back, then it will cost us. It costs us way more than $3 to refund each one of those charges that was put on a ticket. So I would just think, collect it, pass it on through, and if they reverse it, the burden will be on them, and we'll stop collecting it. We're free of it.
Mr. Mayor, I actually agree with Ms. McVeigh. The funds that we will be taking in will be assessed to the individual that received the
Right.
ticket,
Mhm.
right, summons. So it's not, we're just a pass-through.
We're not really agreeing, we're just abiding by what the law is right now.
And I would agree with you on.
And I just feel like that would take away our burden. I understand how you want to hold it in escrow in case it gets reversed, but it could be years down the road, and that could be a nightmare trying to get it all
That's the
refunded.
problem with that, yes.
That's why I think be
That-
free of
that's
it.
the issue.
Collect it, pass it on, and if they reverse it, we'll stop collecting it.
Well, I feel that we should wait, not collect it, and wait until it becomes law. I mean, just.
It is law
Only
now,
problem with
though.
that, then the money would come out of our general fund rather than coming from the
We'd have
defendants that
to
are paying the
subsidize it.
court
We'd have to
costs.
make it up out of our own money.
I know, and the $3, that was just outrageous.
Yeah, it's $3 per event that we have over there. So if it went on for a period of time, it could be a sizable amount of money that we would ultimately be responsible for out of general fund that is unbudgeted at this point.
Do we have to pass the ordinance now?
No. The instructions were, though, by OSCA, were to have this done by the 28th of August.
That's when it goes
Yeah,
into
like
effect.
new law.
Again,
Right.
you know, it's not a directive from the legislature, it's not a bill that's been signed by the governor, it's a directive from the Office of State Courts Administrators. And that's where the issue is. Many people, and people whose opinions I respect, don't feel that they have the authority to tell cities and city courts what fees they can and cannot collect.
And that's why.
But that's the issue that has to be determined.
And that's why I think we should wait until the governor signs it. You know, if the governor signs it into law.
Well, it hadn't been brought to the legislature, so I don't think it'll go to the governor.
Well, it's not, at this point, no, it's not. I don't know what'll happen on that.
Okay.
I
so
just say
would-
be free of it.
It's a,
Would you like to make that in form
I
of a
wish I could
motion,
be
or-
more definitive with you, but I just can't.
The option of collecting the money and keeping it, we're looking at the cost of refunding it. But if we do that, our citizens who paid it would get it back. It would cost us some money to do that,
We're
Yes.
entitled to it back.
and they're entitled to get it back.
They would get it back both ways, it just wouldn't be us paying it back. If it got reversed, it would be the burden of the sheriff's group to
Again,
pay it
now,
back.
I'm not
I mean,
sure what would happen. I'm not sure that it would, can't tell you positively would be refunded.
This is a tough one.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
These are not getting any easier.
Mr. Massingham?
Yes.
You can just hit a button and make it happen, right?
That's right, just hit a button, that's all you have to do. Well, I'd sure like Mayor Pro Tem McVeigh's suggestion. I mean, it would be a nightmare to have to refund all that money 3, 4, 5 years down the road. Our office is the one that writes the court checks now, not the court.
And if that person's dead,
But-
then it goes to their estate, and think about what all could happen. I mean,
Of course, whatever you all decide, we'll certainly do.
It's not just the cost of it, it's the cost of the check. Your department's small. I've been in there, a couple people. It's not just that, it's a 50-cent stamp now. Before long, we have $1.50 tied up in a $3 refund.
and then we escrow it, we make interest on it. Can we really keep that interest? It's not really our money. I mean, I can see how this thing could get big. If we collect it, I think we need to either pass it on or don't collect it. I just don't think we need to hang on to it.
The only thing I could add, honestly, I do think that there will be some resolution of the issue fairly soon. It may be a year, but you know, I don't think it'll stretch on for years and years. I really do think they will get it. There will be some kind of a decision on it.
I just wanted to give my opinion. Thank you.
If it were for the police department, I would just say, yeah, let's go with it, but for some, that's.
Well, I guess maybe the theory is cities are in counties, sheriffs run the counties. Maybe that's why they want to tag on. I mean, I have no idea where they came up with it, but again, I just think it's one less thing for us to have to think about. If it's there and we're supposed to do it by the 28th, I would make a motion that we abide by that OSHA and collect the $3 and forward it on as requested.
Second.
A motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion carries. It'll be going to a voting session tonight also.
Do I need to make another motion?
No, it'll be
Or
a
to
roll
include
call
that,
vote.
to be included
Under
in
bill.
a motion, include that in my motion then. Thank you.
Item E, the city council will discuss a resolution making an appointment to the Public Building Corporation.
The Poplar Bluff Public Building Corporation is really responsible for the bonds the city of Poplar Bluff has. If the city of Poplar Bluff would default on any of those, they're required to meet on an annual basis, and that is when they meet, one time a year. You've got minutes in your packet. The members can be lifetime members, but there are 3-year terms that they have. We have not every 3 years appointed. We are supposed to do it by resolution. We have in some cases, so this is just cleaning up this year. Joy McLean would be the one that we would reappoint for a 3-year term, but annually we'll start bringing this resolution to the council from now on.
Entertain a motion and a second to move this to the voting session to be held tonight.
So moved. Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to action required items. Bill number 7612, the city council will take action on an ordinance establishing a procedure for the disclosure of potential conflicts of interest and substantial interest for certain municipal officers.
Move for first reading of 7612.
Second.
Motion second for the first reading. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Duncan.
Bill number 7612, an ordinance establishing a procedure for the disclosure of potential conflicts of interest and substantial interest for certain municipal officers.
Move for second reading. Bill number 7612.
Second.
Motion second for second reading. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Duncan.
Bill number 7612, an ordinance establishing a procedure for the disclosure of potential conflicts of interest and substantial interests for certain municipal officers.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Motion second for adoption. Any comments? Roll call, Ms. Kirby.
Councilwoman Abshir?
Yes.
Councilman Branham?
Yes.
Councilman Smith?
Yes.
Councilman Matthews?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem McVeigh?
Yes.
And Mayor DeGaris?
Yes.
We have 6 yes votes.
Thank you. Bill 7612 is adopted. Bill number 7613, the city council will take action on an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a contract for the acquisition of property through the Community Development Block Grant to be utilized as stormwater basin.
Move for first reading of 7613.
Second.
Motion second for first reading. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Duncan.
Bill number 7613, an ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Poplar Bluff, Missouri to execute a contract for the acquisition of certain property located in the city of Poplar Bluff for the purpose of constructing a stormwater basin as part of the city's Community Development Block Grant Program.
Move for second reading, bill number 7613.
Second.
Motion second for second reading. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Duncan.
Bill number 7613, an ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Poplar Bluff, Missouri to execute a contract for the acquisition of certain property located in the city of Poplar Bluff for the purpose of constructing a stormwater basin as part of the city's Community Development Block Grant Program.
Move for adoption of 7613.
Second.
Motion second for adoption. Any comments? Roll call, Ms. Kirby.
Councilman Branham?
Yes.
Councilman Smith?
Yes.
Councilman Matthews?
Yes.
Councilwoman Abshir?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem McVeigh?
Yes.
And Mayor DeGaris?
Yes.
6 yes votes.
Thank you. Bill number 7613 is passed. Bill number 7614, the city council will take action on an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement for engineering services relative to the industrial park drainage improvements.
Move for first reading, bill number 7614.
Second.
Motion second, first reading. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Duncan.
Bill number 7614, an ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Poplar Bluff, Missouri to execute an agreement for engineering services relative to the industrial park drainage improvements.
Move for second reading, bill number 7614.
Second.
Motion and second for second reading. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Duncan?
Bill number 7614, an ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Poplar Bluff, Missouri to execute an agreement for engineering services relative to the industrial park drainage improvements.
Move for adoption of bill number 7614.
Second.
Motion and second for adoption. Any comments? Roll call, Ms. Kirby.
Councilman Smith?
Yes.
Councilman Matthews?
Yes.
Councilwoman Abshir?
Yes.
Councilman Branham?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem McVeigh?
Yes.
And Mayor DeGulis?
Yes.
We have 6 yes votes.
Thank you. Bill 7614 is adopted. Bill number 7615, the City Council will take action on an ordinance accepting a bid for the historical preservation for design guidelines and training workshop.
Move for first reading is 7615.
Second.
Motion second, first reading. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Duncan?
Bill number 7615, an ordinance accepting a bid to preview, update, and rewrite the city's historic preservation guidelines and to host a training workshop in connection with a grant received by the city from the State of Missouri Department of Natural Resources, Division of State Parks.
Move for second reading, bill number 7615.
Second.
Motion second for second reading. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Duncan?
Bill number 7615, an ordinance accepting a bid to preview, update, and rewrite the city's historic preservation guidelines and to host a training workshop in connection with a grant received by the city from the State of Missouri Department of Natural Resources, Division of State Parks.
Move for adoption of bill number 7615.
Second.
Motion second for adoption. Any comments? Roll call, Ms. Kirby.
Councilman Matthews?
Yes. Yes.
Councilwoman Abshir?
Yes.
Councilman Branham?
Yes.
Councilman Smith?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem McVeigh?
Yes.
And Mayor DeGulis?
Yes.
We have 6 yes votes.
Thank you. Bill 7615 is passed. Bill number 7616, the City Council will take action on an ordinance assessing additional municipal court costs, said cost to be used for the Sheriff's Retirement Fund surcharge.
Mr. Mayor, I move for first reading of Bill 7616 inserted with what Ms. McVeigh suggested, the option that she suggested. Is that the correct one?
Second.
Yes, that's the one that's actually in your packet.
Motion second for first reading. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Duncan?
Bill number 7616, an ordinance assessing additional municipal court costs to be used for the Sheriff's Retirement Fund surcharge.
Move for second reading, bill number 7616.
Second.
Motion second for second reading. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Duncan?
Bill number 7616, an ordinance assessing additional municipal court costs to be used for the Sheriff's Retirement Fund surcharge.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Motion second for adoption. Any comments?
I have a comment. Mr. Duncan, would that be appropriate to put in there for the sheriff's state retirement fund, where folks won't think it's just for the sheriff here, because that's what it's for, and to me, that would clear it up for a lot of people, maybe.
I'd be happy to do that. That's actually what it's titled. It's the Sheriff's Retirement Fund surcharge. That's what they call it, Sheriff's Retirement Fund. But if council wishes, I can certainly put that in there. I'd be happy to. Is that a consensus? If nobody, how about this? If nobody objects to it, I'll put that in there.
As long as it doesn't jeopardize something.
It's not gonna
going to
jeopardize
change
anything.
anything.
No,
I mean, the paper could distinguish that it's a statewide thing, not a local thing.
Yes.
But I just think maybe it should read like they have it, like it's supposed to. I think it needs to read like they have
Well,
it.
I can say the state's
There you go.
Retirement
There you
Fund
go.
surcharge.
There you go. Put that in front of it,
shouldn't
but
be a
not in the middle of
problem.
it. Yeah. Very good.
I will do that.
Okay then.
Let's see, where did we get to?
Roll call, Ms. Kirby.
Councilwoman Abshir?
Yes.
Councilman Branham?
Yes.
Councilman Smith?
No.
Councilman Matthews?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem McVeigh?
Yes.
Mayor DeGulis?
Yes.
We have 5 yes votes, 1 no.
Thank you. Bill number 7616 is adopted. Bill number 7617, the City Council will take action on an ordinance amending the budget for the City of Poplar Bluff for fiscal year 2013 relative to the Poplar Bluff Municipal Airport.
Move for first reading is 7617.
Second.
Motion second for first reading. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Duncan?
Bill number 7617, an ordinance amending the 2013 fiscal year budget for the city of Poplar Bluff relative to the Poplar Bluff Municipal Airport.
Move for second reading, Bill number 7617.
Second.
Motion second for second reading. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Duncan?
Bill number 7617, an ordinance amending the 2013 fiscal year budget for the city of Poplar Bluff relative to the Poplar Bluff Municipal Airport.
Move for adoption of bill number 7617.
Second.
Motion second for adoption. Any comments?
I'd like to thank Mike Smith for his work on this, because if he hadn't been on top of that, this wouldn't happen. So that's going to be a big boost to our airport when we get that runway added. So publicly, I want to thank Mike for that.
Okay, thank you for remembering that. No other comments? Roll call, Ms. Kirby?
Councilman Branham?
Yes.
Councilman Smith?
Yes.
Councilman Matthews?
Yes.
Councilwoman Abshir?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem McVeigh?
Yes.
And Mayor DeGaris?
Yes.
We have 6 yes votes.
Thank you. Bill number 7617 is adopted. Resolution number 1780, the city council will take action on a resolution making an appointment to the Public Building Corporation.
Move for reading of resolution 1780.
Second.
Motion second for the reading of resolution. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Mr. Duncan?
Resolution number 1780, a resolution reappointing Joy McLean to the Poplar Bluff Public Building Corporation.
Move for adoption of resolution number 1780.
Second.
Motion second for adoption. Any comments? Roll call, Ms. Kirby?
Councilman Smith?
Yes.
Councilman Matthews?
Yes.
Councilwoman Abshir?
Yes.
Councilman Branham?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem McVeigh?
Yes.
And Mayor DeGaris?
Yes.
We have 6 yes votes.
Thank you. Resolution number 1780 is passed. Resolution number 1781, the city council will take action on a resolution making an appointment to the Appeals Board of Zoning Adjustments.
Move for the reading of resolution number 1781.
Second.
Who is the appointment?
What?
That's your decision. We had 2 applicants, so Tom City and Steve Johnson. I apologize, I probably should have.
Todd. Todd.
Todd, one of
Isn't that one of the city manager appointments?
No, that's a mayor appointment. Okay.
Okay, that appointment will be for Todd Sitting on the Board of Adjustments.
I would make that motion that we appoint him, if it needs a motion.
I can insert it in the resolution if you want to just go ahead with the, has the resolution been made and seconded?
Yes.
Okay.
Roll call, Ms. Kirby?
Well, I need to read it.
Yeah.
Okay. Resolution number 1781, a resolution making an appointment to the Zoning Board of Adjustments for the city of Poplar Bluff, and that resolution will read to reflect Todd Sittig has been nominated by the mayor.
Move for adoption resolution number 1781.
Second.
Motion second for adoption. Any comments? Roll call, Ms. Kirby?
Councilman Matthews?
Yes.
Councilwoman Abshir?
Yes.
Councilman Branham?
Yes.
Councilman Smith?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem McVeigh?
Yes.
And Mayor DeGaris?
Yes.
We have 6 yes votes.
Thank you. Resolution 1781 is passed. Next will be the city manager's report.
Closed session.
What about
Closed
the
session.
closed session?
Closed session.
Closed session next, and then.
Okay. The City Council of the City of Poplar Bluff will meet in a closed meeting in which they will discuss such matters which are exempt under the Open Meetings Law, section 610.021.1, .2, .3, .9, .11, .12, .13, and .14 of the revised statutes of Missouri.
Mr. Mayor, we move to closed session after city manager's report.
Second.
Motion second to close the meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Bagby?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Overlay program, we have, we're getting ready to start this year. We're usually done by the overlay program by the middle of August. This year we've had a very difficult time getting asphalt. So Jeremy has about 2 weeks' work with that in the street department. When that does happen, and we think that probably within the next week or two, we'll be starting to work on that. Nellie, as you all know, was not a great success. The last time that event was in here, I think we had 3,900 people at the Coliseum. We needed about 2,600 to break even. We had about 1,800. So you never know what is going to hit and what isn't going to hit. The other thing is, you all had a packet laid in front of you today. It is prepared by Councilwoman Pearson, and I was hoping she could be here tonight. It talks about that she has unearthed some unethical dealings, conflicts of interest, public corruption, and even that the city manager may be able to manipulate the stock market. At any rate, it's been submitted to 7 or 8 different state and federal organizations. The information in here is without grounds. There is nothing here. Everything in it is not incorrect. I do know a lot of people, and that's some of the allegations of collusion, that I know people we do business with. I've lived in Poplar Bluff for 63 years. I know a lot of people. I'm not sure we could do business with somebody that I didn't know. But at any rate, that's some of the allegations that is tried in an attempt to tie together. It puts a big circle and asks you to use your imagination to what could happen, but it is not happening. The problem with the analysis that she uses in this is that I don't sign contracts. The mayor signs contracts after approval of council. I don't approve bills paid. This body does that. I don't approve the city budget. This body does that. All of those things that she has got in here is done at the council level. Councilwoman Pearson is actually making allegations concerning herself, present council, and past councilmen. That is who is responsible for these transactions. She is directing this towards me and several other business leaders in the community. It just simply isn't that way. I bring everything to you all. You all either prove it or don't prove it. She very easily may not be aware. She hasn't attended the newly elected officials conference, which was in May of this year. It's always in May, either the early part or mid-May, and it is because that the elections are in April and they want to get a handle. I encourage her, the city clerk encouraged her to try to find a way to do that. She hasn't attended training of any kind to this point. I simply don't think she knows what she's doing. She refuses to rely on the expertise of the incumbent councilman that sat around this table. She is pretty much on her own. She appears to me to like drama and the limelight, and is going to get both, even at the expense of the progress of the city of Poplar Bluff. Even though on her social media pages she talks about how concerned she is about her city. Anybody that reads this will be relatively sure that, and I do wish she was here tonight, that Councilwoman Pearson has lost confidence in my ability to operate as city manager. You all have read, most of you all have seen this before. I would simply request that that the council take a formal vote of confidence or lack of it on my ability to continue in this position. The allegation she made has been an embarrassment to me, to the city of Poplar Bluff, to my family, and I feel like I'm owed at least a vote one way or another of how we're going to continue. I would never do anything that I felt was not going to be in the best interest of the city of Poplar Bluff. I've worked here for 40 years. The city has helped me support 2 wives that I'm very proud of, both. 4 children that I'm also very proud of, 2 of which are here tonight. If I don't have the support of the council, we can talk about a succession plan in the closed session we have tonight. But I feel that either way, if there isn't support here, then we're not going to progress. We're not going to continue to move forward. So I would certainly appreciate and request that you all take a formal vote. These are things that are normally done in closed session because it involves personnel, but I'm the personnel it involves at this point, and I certainly don't have a problem discussing it in open session. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor, other than I would appreciate.
Have some comments I'd like to make.
Yes, sir.
Councilwoman Abshire and Councilman Smith, the 3 of us were involved when we hired Mr. Bagby. Scott Fahn was mayor at that time, and he came to me and said, we need to hire Doug Bagby. I said, I don't know that. We went through a process. If you remember, we selected some people from the community to review the applications and make recommendations on what people we would interview. I looked at all the applications, and I thought they did a good job. Now, I base that on about 40 years' experience hiring people for the federal government and for the state. And we had to go through some procedures. And you all remember we went through a procedure where we asked every person that interviewed, I believe it was 3 besides Mr. Bagby, either 2 or 3, I know. One of them has been a city manager in New York, another one north of Poplar Bluff, and I don't remember where the other one was at. But if there was, I know where those 2 came from. We interviewed all of them. It was unanimous by the council that Mr. Bagby was the best person for the job. In my 10 years working with Mr. Bagby, he has never asked me to vote a certain way on any council business. Now, we talked about the bond election that we had a year ago that Mr. Becker wanted to defeat, which would have cost our citizens more interest money. We talked about that. I thought that was appropriate. He may have talked to you about it too. I know we discussed it among ourselves. And that bond issue passed, where we got a lower interest rate and saved the citizens thousands of dollars in this community. Over my 40 years in working with the state and the federal government and hiring people, I've hired a lot of folks. I hired folks with PhDs, with high school educations and without. With master's degree, hired psychologists and different folks. And I was involved in the hiring of Mr. Bagby. Mr. Bagby, I would tell you this tonight. I would be hard pressed to say who the top couple of people were, but you would be one of them. Because I think you've done a great job as city manager here. Have you made mistakes? Well, has anyone ever made mistakes? But we rectify them when we make one, if we've made some here. And these are only allegations now until they're proven. We all know that. Anyone has the right to do that. Ms. Pearson had the right to do what she did. And, but I know there's a lot of people mentioned in there that you know. Well, I know a tremendous amount of people in this community too. Several of them that are mentioned there are good friends of mine, and will continue to be, I hope, anyway. And so it's come to this, and you certainly have my vote to continue as city manager, because I think you do an outstanding job. You've received awards for some of the deals in engineering that we have done. Some folks may be confused about how we hire engineers. I was when I first come on the council. And I thought, well, how come this happens this way? I checked into it, talked to Pam, talked to Tom Lawson, said, well, engineers, you don't bid money. You only bid the firm. And we have a policy that we've used every time when we hired a firm. Smith and Company has always been the top firm on any time they've been evaluated. So what could be wrong with hiring a top firm that does you a good job? And that's just not my opinion. That's all the department heads that I talked to was well satisfied with Smith and Company. So again, I believe you've really did an outstanding job for the citizens of this community. Does everyone like you? No. Does everyone like me? No. Or any of the rest of you. You have some folks that think we do all things wrong. But there's a lot of them think we do a lot of things right. All they have to do is drive around Poplar Bluff and see what's happened since you've been city manager of the building that's taken place, the new industry, the new hospital, the 8 Points plan, and many plans that will be far-reaching and taking effect long after I'm dead and gone. And probably several on this committee, council is not here any longer. Progress will be going on because of your leadership and recommending to us and getting us in the discussion that we need to look at certain issues. I don't have anything wrong with that. You can, and I've come to you different times. I've come to Pam different times. You've always supplied me with the information I needed to make a good decision. And I make my decisions based on the information that I have and what's in the best interest of the city of Poplar Bluff. And I truly believe you do the same thing. Thank you for your service to this community.
In keeping with Councilman Matthews, I've been on this council for 12 years, and 10 of those years we've been on with Doug. And over those years, I think he's done a wonderful job. I like what's going on, like he was saying at the 8 Points, and it would be a shame to change managers right now while we've got so much stuff going on, and he knows how it all works. And for someone else to come in here new and not knowing a thing about what's going on in Poplar Bluff, I mean, it could be detrimental to Poplar Bluff. So Doug, you have my support.
Sounds like a motion and a second to show his support, or maybe even run you for president.
I'd like to add a comment too.
Yes, sir.
Because I've known Mr. Bagby since, what, was about 12 years old when.
Yeah, maybe even younger.
I guess that'd be Riceland Road now, down there.
6 by 6.
And Mr. Matthews is right in respect, he does not ask you to vote a certain way. I will say that. And we don't agree on a lot of things that we talk about. He has an opinion, I have an opinion. And it says, Mr. Matthews said we all have opinions, and we're all different people. And we all go home at night if we make a vote and it's over. You know, and the biggest thing right now, my concern is 8 Points and Nordine. I want to see Nordine, and Mr. Bagby assured me that the chamber is working their, I think you said they're working their butts off, I think is what you told me. And 8 Points right now is to the point, it's not time to make a change into that. We need to stay at the direction we're going. We need Menards to be pouring concrete, and we need some of these other stores to start coming in, because we've got a huge investment that we're going to have to pay for some way. And that's you start making a change right now with everything that's going on. I think it would be probably, as Mr. Smith said, be a little bit detrimental to the growth of Poplar Bluff in general. And that's what this group here is for, or that's why I'm here for, is the growth of Poplar Bluff. Hope to live here another maybe 10 or 15 years, hope I live that long. But we have to make the projects we have going prosper for not just myself, and I don't have any kids, but the people that are here today that had kids. We have to make sure that Poplar Bluff is good for those that have kids that are growing up here. And that's all I have to say.
Motion and a second. I'm sure some other comments.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
guess I've known Doug longer than anyone on this council since the day he was born. And I helped raise him on the east side, and I thought I'd done a pretty good job. Came from a fine family there, and he has raised a fine family, and no matter what we have going now, or like, whether it be detrimental or not, I do not feel we need to change city managers. I have the utmost confidence in you. You, Doug, just the same as I did whenever you as a boy stepped up to the plate over in Lake Park, that you'd knock that ball over the fence as you did. I think you do a fine job for our city, and it's been a pleasure working with you all these years that you've been our city manager, and you certainly have my vote of confidence.
Well, I also want to make a comment. I've been on the council for 9 years now, and I never had been involved in politics before, much less never even gone to a city council meeting. Mr. Matthews had taught me into running or applying for the position, and I'm very thankful that I did. But I many times would go to Doug because I thought in terms of a business, and I didn't understand a municipality is run much different than a private business. And Doug would always give me resources or teach me how and why things are done. And I really appreciate that. It helped me to make better decisions. I am greatly disappointed in what our councilman, Ms. Pearson, has done. She is my council representative and Doug's representative. She not once had come to us for any of this. And, many of those things possibly could have been resolved if she had gone to a source and learned how and why things got done instead of blowing it out to this magnitude. But I feel like our city is in a very sound financial position. We have great growth going on, but our city employees are under, our city staff is under such tension right now with all this unrest that has happened since April that something has to give. I would not want you to leave us at this point. I feel like we're traveling across the country in a wagon to California and we're about to the mountains. You can't leave us now. You absolutely have my support.
And I worked with Doug as a fellow employee for the city, and then as his interim city manager. I was under him, and then before I retired, he'd become city manager again. And then I got on the council. He asked me, "What were you thinking?" From one to this. But I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed working with him, and he and Ms. Kirby both will be quick to say, "You're our boss now. You get to tell us what to do." Well, there's a lot of knowledge here that even if you're a supervisor, just like I was supervisor over two of the police officers here, I listened to them and to some of the newest ones that came on and always learned things. Mr. Bagby is always available for help on things, and he, like Mr. Branham and Mr. Matthews says, he doesn't suggest how we vote or anything. He gives us the facts and lets us make the decision.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more like working with a friend, being a friend of your employees, if that's what, I don't consider them as me as them being their boss, like with the rest of the council. It's just fellow workers reaching for the common goal. And so you also have my support. So that sounds like a 6-0 vote for support.
And I appreciate the comments. I really was just looking for a yes or no, but I do appreciate the comments.
Okay,
Are we going to take a vote? I think it should be part of the record.
Roll call vote, please.
Yes, it's roll call, Ms. Kirby.
Okay, I show the motion by Councilman Matthews and seconded by Councilman Smith. Councilwoman Abshir?
Yes.
Councilman Matthews?
Yes.
Councilman Smith?
Yes.
Councilman Branham?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem McVeigh?
Yes.
And Mayor DeGueris?
Yes.
6 yes votes, 1 absent.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I would make a motion, if there's nothing further, that we adjourn and move to closed session.
Second.
Motion second adjourn. Before I ask for the vote, I'd also like to ask everyone to remember a sweet, dear lady, Brenda Fox, our has some severe medical issues, and she needs to be in our prayers with her family. She's a great lady, and she's done a great job at what she's doing, but she just needs our prayers for healing.
I'd like to make a comment about something else that's come up concerning sunshine request. The last MML meeting I was at, the fellow out of the Attorney General's office, who goes around talking about the sunshine law, made the statement that when Ms. Kirby gets a request, she has 3 days to answer it and tell the person that's asked for that information when she will have it for them and the approximate cost. And all the folks at MML and other folks said you need to ask for the money in advance, because some people in some communities go in and a city clerk and 4 or 5 other people do a whole bunch of work, cost a whole bunch of money, and then people say, well, I don't want it. Well, that's not fair to the city or their employees, because it takes the city employee away from doing their regular job to many times information that's been in the DAR or information they could get, but that being neither here nor there. And I think that needs to include all of us, including we're citizens like anyone else. And if I can't get all the information I need here, then if I have to go ask for a sunshine request, I should have to pay for it. I don't know if we need to vote on that or not. Or it may not be a voting thing to do, but that's something that bothers me greatly, that someone comes in and wants a request, we charge them for it. City council member goes in, they should be charged too. And we're not special people when it comes to those kind of things, in my opinion. So I just leave it there. But that's the procedure that I was told. And then if the city clerk cannot get it by that date, she writes a personal letter or a letter, because then you got a record of it, saying I will have it by such and such a date. In the original letter you state, I believe, Pam, that I will have it on such and such a date. If I can't have it by that date, I will let you know. It's a business procedure, and we need to follow that and make sure that happens.
There would be no discrimination if you charged everyone up front. I mean, to me, that just keeps it good, clean business lines, and
And it would give the person an idea what they were going to be out.
Yeah, what it's going to cost.
You know, you have a rough estimate, and it would give the normal person that wants to.
Yeah.
They say, well, it's $500. I don't know, that's too much. You know, I think it's an excellent idea. I don't know how we go about that.
I believe that's something probably just held procedurally through the office of our city clerk.
It is, and we have people that request things, not just council people, other people that request things. And once we send them that invoice, if they don't want to pay that, they'll say, we don't need that information at that time. But council people do not have to submit a sunshine request. We try to get that information to you all when you request it as quickly as possible. It just may not be within 3 days. I mean,
Well, you don't have to get it to them in 3 days. You got 3 days to tell us when you can get it.
but, and most of you all are understanding when you come in, if it's something we have readily available, we'll get it to you right away.
well, many things are already on our iPads, they're all in our packets, all the paid bills, all, where the money's deposited. I mean, we have lots of that information already in our packets. And like we've all said, Doug doesn't make the decision. He brings us option A, B, and C. We as a council make a decision which one we want to go with. That's all in our packets. And, Ms. Pearson has requested 10 years worth of information. She's lived in this town for 10 years and never once asked for those things before. Why all of a sudden does she need it all?
And normally you all don't ask for something.
And then some of it she had. I mean, she's got the most current year anyway.
Pam has dealt with in excess of 50 sunshine requests since January 1 of this year.
And you normally don't have 5 in a year, probably.
And they did not, 4 or 5 probably from Councilwoman Pearson, and the bulk of them are from somebody that we're in a lawsuit with right now. And
which is amazing that her receipt showed up on his website.
Well,
That's a
Okay,
tremendous
that's-
number of sunshine requests.
Okay,
we
that has
make.
been brought up, I think, as a procedural office type thing that can be handled by Mrs. Kirby and approved by Mr. Bagby without the council having to vote on something of that nature.
yeah, it's reached a point, from the way I view it, that we're on the verge of having to hire another person to help Pam out. Because I hate for Pam to have to stay till 10 o'clock at night, Doug come in on Saturday morning, or
Pam works on
come in
Sunday.
on Saturday. You know, these folks are compensated, but they don't get extra pay for that. And maybe they should, because they come in and do work for the citizens. And I know Mr. Duncan to know more about that kind of thing than what I do, but I know when I worked for the federal government, if a person came in, they were, and worked overtime, even if it wasn't authorized, we had to pay it.
That's right.
So I think we need to look at those kind of things to be fair to our employees that have to do all this. And I don't have anything against people requesting sunshine requests, but they need to be reasonable too. And if they don't want to, you know, we'll be reasonable, we'll follow what the Attorney General's office tells us to do. And we should be on solid ground there.
And the city manager and city clerk have both been very accommodating and have provided each and every item without fail. I mean, they just did due diligence and did exactly what was requested. I mean,
Three of
It's
us
just-
right here
that's
have
just too much
32
burden
years
on.
service as a council member, and none of us
I've
has
never
ever asked
had a
for
discussion.
the Freedom of Information Act.
Boy.
Betty has a few more years than
Yeah,
that.
Betty's almost got that bird.
I have almost as many as the three of you. No, I never have asked for anything.
Well, and Mr. Branham served as mayor himself. He's been on the
Right.
council before. I mean, you've never been through anything like what we're going through now either, even on your tenure. So this is a new event. But anyway,
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
You're
Adjourned.
going to have to hit the gavel to take the smoke break.